Wake Up World Groups Day 7. Group C is complete. Gen.G and Fnatic qualify into playoffs. TSM have been eliminated from Worlds. What went wrong, and where do they go from here? Is there any hope for FlyQuest tomorrow? We'll check in with Tyler on his NA Optimism. Also, the grand final will have fans in attendance.
Will they fight or will they go for the base? The first turret's gonna fall. They can't find the scoop.
What went wrong? And where do they go from here?
Well, LGD are
FlyQuest tomorrow. We'll check in with Tyler on his NA Optimism. Also, the grand final will have fans in attendance.
You gotta be kidding me! He's sliding the heel as you said, Toby, and Ruler finds the kill. Oh, for Doublelift gets nothing. It's an easy couple of kills.
Lock him down. Shockwave's gonna come through. That picks up 2 kills. And Illuson's not done. He's underneath an inner turret. Has a stopwatch to keep himself alive. And there goes the turret from the fight. Bimbo continuing forward. Longshig's gonna go down. And Kramer's like, what the heck am I supposed to do? Triple kill for Nemesis. And now the Dazzle comes in yet again. Clint dives on top of Reckless. Unable to lock down that kill just yet. Self-made in trouble as Ruler. Oh my god, the AoE in Gen.G. They say no.
Day 13 of the World Championship is in the books, and we're here to break it all down. It's Wake Up Worlds. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? Welcome one, welcome all to Wake Up Worlds, our daily ESPN Esports League of Legends World Championship program. My dear, close personal buddy, Tyler Fion on Fire Erzberger, and I are with you every step of the way until a League of Legends World Champion is crowned. Thank you so much for watching us on Twitch and YouTube live. We appreciate you being here, and join us in Twitch chat throughout the show. I'll be watching for comments and questions. We got a lot to talk about, and that's about as excited as I can be today. I try my best. That is as ecstatic as we can be today. For today is not a day of celebrations, as you can tell on Tyler's face. How you feeling there, bud? How you doing?
I'm disgusted. I'm trying to catch my words so I don't curse on this, family-friendly program. I am embarrassed. I am livid. I am frustrated. It's an embarrassment of a day for the North American League of Legends region. It is the first day. It's the first time in League of Legends World Championship history a Pool 1 seed has gone 0-6 at the World Championship. This is not a young team. This is not an experienced team. This is a team with veterans and so-called world-class players, domestic champions facing the league. And all I can think about is how embarrassing today was as someone who reports and follows the North American League of Legends scene for the last 5 to 6 years, and League of Legends as a whole for almost a decade at this point. Just livid. No words of platitudes. No silver linings. No moral victories. 0-6. That's all I can say. It's an embarrassment. It's a complete and utter travesty of a performance by TSM. And there's no nice words that I can throw out there. I like the players personally. I think they're talented, but what they performed, what they brought out to Shanghai this year wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough to get out of play-ins. I kind of wish they were in play-ins so they could have gone home early with Mad Lions, because they did not deserve to make the group stages with what they showed today. It was an embarrassment. And I'm just sitting here, and I think they could have done so much better. So much more, but what they gave the fans, what they gave the TSM Legion, staying up until 2, 3, 4 a.m. in the morning to watch them and to root them on, it wasn't good enough. It was not nearly good enough, and 0-6 is what they deserved. They should have won some games, but they threw that as well. So we'll get into that in a bit. Let's start with the winners first, obviously. Let's actually congratulate the teams who played well in the group. So let's start with that, and then we will get to the so-called dumpster fire that was TSM at Worlds 2020.
Thank you for doing my job for me, Tyler. Fnatic and Gen.G leave Group C. Gen.G beats Fnatic to claim the top seed in Group C. It was an emphatic victory. They went 1-1 in the series in groups, but Gen.G really making a statement there against Fnatic. What did you take away from both teams today, Tyler?
Oh, man. So Fnatic, up till their actual Gen.G game, I was vastly impressed by. They played such a quick and decisive style. At one point, it was kind of hilarious comparing them to TSM, where TSM was so reactionary to everything that was going on. If Fnatic against TSM and LGD were putting on the pace, they were diving, 2 hours deep. They were ever so confident in their mechanics and their coordination, and it was beautiful to watch. Obviously, in the Gen.G game, that kind of went into the old, let's try to scale, have the Malphite, let's pick some losing lanes. Kind of everything went wrong after Gen.G invested into a top dive, which also led into just a straight up 2v2 kill for Ruler and Life in the bomb lane, which just kind of tilted that one game into a 3-4K goal lead that does Gen.G snowballed, because Gen.G is a good team and they know what to do with leads like that. So overall, both teams, I think, should be very happy getting out of this group. This was a tough group. Gen.G, obviously the number 1 seed, which means they will most likely skip Damwon, obviously, and more than likely top Esports. Looking at the field, I think they want to avoid G2 if possible. I think G2 could get Gen.G some problems, but overall, good day for Gen.G. And for Fnatic, just even though they came in second, I'm so impressed by them. And I think they have a lot more to show too. I think in this meta that is so focused on having a hard carry jungler, having a playmaking, ballsy support. You want a support that will roam, that is not afraid to latch away from its AD carry, make plays. Even if you fail at times, you want to have a ballsy support. And Hillsong is the definition of a ballsy support. Pairing those two together, Selfmade and Hillsong running around the jungle. You have a stalwart top laner in Blippo who has performed really well. Nemesis, it's not a super hard carry mid lane meta. You could have some picks there, but put him on Lulu, put him on, his comfort picks. And then you obviously have Reckless, who is fine and dandy playing by himself in the bottom lane while Hillsong goes, hand in hand with Selfmade to go around the map. So Fnatic, I think, is built for this tournament. I think this is a meta that really fits Fnatic. So going into the best of 5 stages, I'm actually quite optimistic about Fnatic's chances. I think, given a good draw, I think if they get Suning, I would favor Fnatic over Suning. I really do like this Fnatic team. So if Fnatic can get a good draw, I actually do think they could go quite far in this tournament. I would not be shocked if they make another dark horse run to a final. So both of these teams were very impressive. But even in a loss, even in a day where they did not finish top of the group, I really liked what I saw from Fnatic for most of the day. And even in their loss against Gen.G, that was much more about them just kind of picking a scaling comp and not working out. I think when it comes to the early game and how well they've team fought and kind of controlled that early game, and Selfmade in particular, in a meta where it is all about the jungler, I think Selfmade's one of the best players at World. So kudos to Fnatic, kudos to Gen.G. Both well-deserved placements in the top 8, and I'm very excited to see them in the best of 5s.
So if all stays the same right now, Group D, top Esports is at 3-0. Many people projecting them to go perfect, 6-0. And if that does happen, then they would be the number 1 seed in Group D. That, of course, is going to happen tomorrow. And right now, DRX is in second. So we're not going to get into any prognostications about Group D just yet. But what I do want to talk about are the seedings. So you can see that Suning, Damwon, and Gen.G are the number 1 seeds coming out of their groups. Meanwhile, G2, JD, and Fnatic are the number 2 seeds coming out of their group, which means that Fnatic could face one of the other top 1 seeds, including top Esports, if that remains the same. As you can see there, the draw will happen after the matches conclude tomorrow. So we will have that to speak about on tomorrow's program. And by the way, 78% or 76% of you predicted Gen.G to win Group C outright. Congratulations to you on our ESPN Esports League of Legends Predictor. You can go to ESPN.com/League of Legends Predictor, or if you have the ESPN Fantasy app, you simply click on the trophy. Tyler's doing great. I'm doing a little bit better. Where are you right now? Are you still in the hundreds?
Let me check, Arda. I'm going to go on the ESPN.com right now. Let me open up my predictor page.
I'm 946th.
So good job.
The top 1,000.
After being in, you were like, 30,000, 40,000 for a bit, buddy?
Yeah.
Now you're finally back up.
Gen.G winning Group C. I did it. I got it. Let's go.
I am currently at 73. I am ranked 73.
Let's go. All right. Well, you have a way to go. But this is good. You've been in the top 100 for a while now. So if you want to battle Tyler, get in on the playoffs. That's when you can make your next set of picks. Again, ESPN.com/League of Legends Predictor. Okay, let's get into it. TSM, out of Worlds, 0-6. Officially the worst performing team, NA team at Worlds coming out of a 1 seed in particular.
Yeah.
FlyQuest have yet to play, but they already have a win, so they are definitely TSM, the worst performing team of any NA team at Worlds. TL went 3-3. They are the first ever major region at number 1 to go 0-6 in groups. They set a lot of records at Worlds, but in the opposite way. And this leaves certainly a bitter taste in many people's mouths, not just TSM fans, but also fans of North America. Sure, there are a lot of people happy to see TSM's demise if they are not fans of this team, but we have to break down exactly how we got to this point. Because this one is very concerning, not just for the TSM, but the players involved. The players on this team, because there's going to be a lot of questions, Tyler. There's going to be a lot of speculation going into the offseason. How will this team look? What will happen to this team? After a performance like this, you can only imagine how disappointed they are and how disappointed you are and fans are. So let's get right into it, Tyler. How did we get to this point?
I mean, Spica hit a 5-man sleep, and then it actually turned out to be a 9-man sleep where nothing really happened. That play kind of signified the entirety of TSM's run at Worlds 2020. And then the next game as well is when they traded Baron for Nexus, was also kind of a summarization of 2020 TSM at Worlds. That play, the sleep, I think it's tougher to kind of break down than I think on paper. On paper, it looks very, very easy, where it's yes, TSM should have ran in. It looks really bad. It looks really stupid. They pull off. They Doublelift goes to farm mid lane when all 5 members of Gen.G are fast asleep, ready to be killed. Bjergsen is full mana, He has a flash on him. He's fed. He can jump in, blow up Gen.G, win, get Baron, win game. Simple as that. Sure, Gen.G, some of the members are in Senate Shroud, I believe. So some of the members are invisible or unchangeable, or whatever the word that put into the untargetable. So even so, this is the moment where Speaky gets to sleep off. They can see they got some sleeps off, and it's a moment where TSM can either go for broke. They are not the scaling team. This team does not scale well. That is also a big factor in this whole shebang, where TSM does not outscale Gen.G. At this point, TSM's already thrown the game away. They had one of the most shambolic Barons of all time. Even that's saying something from a North American team. They threw at that Baron in an embarrassing fashion, and the game had come into a standstill where Gen.G is vastly scaling. They are going to beat TSM in any 5-on-5 team fight coming up. And this was their one moment, their one reprieve, Arda. They got the perfect sleep off, a sleep that Sneaky, while watching this game, said he has never seen a 5-man sleep before. This was the perfect, where picturesque sleep. This is what all Lily and Mains dream of. This was the moment. This was the moment that even if TSM went 1-5, this was going to be the play that is going to be shown forever in Worlds packages, right? Where you get the 5-man sleep and everyone jumps in on Gen.G and wipes them clean off the board, and they get Baron, they win the game. It was supposed to be that moment. It was supposed to be that killer instinct moment, Arda, but there was no blood to be found. TSM, as throughout the entire tournament, showed a disconnect. Some players going this way, some players going that way. They backed off, they turtled, and they just kind of waited for their doom. And they knew it was coming. They knew they were outscaled. And by the time they fought again, Gen.G just slapped them around the mouth. And it was like, okay, you had a 6K gold lead and you threw it all, and now we've outscaled you. Congratulations, TSM, you played yourself. That one moment that was open for them, they didn't take it. And even if it wasn't as, easy as it could seem from, our eyes, I would like to see a pro view of like a Doublelift or Bjergsen of what they saw in that moment. But there was still that opening, and they didn't take that opening. It could have went terribly wrong, but that was their one chance to take the game for themselves. And I tweeted this before the tournament. You can go back. I tweeted this, and I said, this tournament for Bjergsen is the biggest of his career. And what I want to see from Bjergsen, who The meta is in his wheelhouse. His champions that he loves are in his wheelhouse. He's in great form on the Chinese Super Server. He's doing great. He's high challenger. He's one of the top-ranked Western players going into Worlds. He has to show a killer instinct. I want to see a killer instinct from Bjergsen where he takes over the game and he says, I will not let my team go down easily. Just like we've seen from Faker and Ruler and Caps and Perks and all these legendary players. Even players like Selfmade this tournament have shown that he will not let his team lose because he is that ace player. I want to see that from Bjergsen. I want to see that killer instinct. And there was no killer instinct to be had on this day. Not in this game, not versus Fnatic, and not versus LGD. In all 3 games, for the most part, outside of the first 15 minutes of the Gen.G game where they looked really good after they'd been mathematically eliminated, and they were proactive for once with Speak at kind of 1v9ing on the Lilia, they were always the ones reacting to the action instead of making it. Where Fnatic was always on the front foot of everything, where they were diving, they were playing. Even if it was sloppy, they were always going for it. Where with TSM, it felt like they were timid. They were scared to make a move. If they messed up, it would, blow up in their faces. And you just wanted TSM to be proactive and play like you thought they could. And it sucks because I do think TSM is better than what they showed. Maybe I don't think they're a team that's good enough to make it out of this group. I don't think they're better than Gen.G and Fnatic after watching 6 games of them, but they're better than 0-6. And I think the players know that. But the harsh thing is, and I don't want to say it sucks to say, and there's going to be tweets of, we love you guys, we really tried our best. It's embarrassing. We know we failed you guys, but next year we're going to come back stronger. And then in 2016, when TSM were pseudo favorites, dark horses to make a final, and they failed in the group stages and lost to RNG and Samsung Galaxy, and they failed to make it to the groups, and they said that, and they said the tweets were there, and they said, we'll come back next year stronger. I believe them. I believe them in full. I said they could come back stronger. 2017, China. Let's go back. Another time where TSM is favored to make it out of groups. They lose to Misfits in a tiebreaker. After the games, we'll get them next year, guys. We're embarrassed. We're sad. We're going to work for it. Next time, we're going to come back stronger. We'll come back stronger. Years later, after finally getting back to Worlds, after, missing from Worlds for 2 years and finally bringing the game back together, Biofrost, Doublelift, and Bjergsen winning a domestic title, they come into Worlds as the number 1 seed of North America, and they don't not only not make it out, they go 0-6. And I don't believe that they'll be better next year. I don't believe they'll be stronger next year with this core. I've given them 2, 3, 4 chances to prove me wrong, but every time TSM comes to Worlds, it ends in the same exact argument of they don't have the killer instinct, the communication isn't right. The same issues they had in 2016 when Doublelift got caught out by Crown and blew him up in an instant with Victor are the same issues we look at in 2020 when they have the discommunication around giving up a Baron for the Nexus in the game versus LGD, which, we could talk all day about the Gen.G play and if they actually could, actually saw that they were slept in the, the shroud of Senna and if they needed a ward or all that, and what play is correct there. We can all agree that giving up the Nexus to get a Baron is not the best play, and that has come down to miscommunication and just not great macro. And the same plays and the same mistakes we were having in 2016 are still plaguing them in 2020. And I am done with thinking about next year and coming back stronger. Changes need to be made, and it's just a sad day for TSM fans because TSM fans are loyal, man. I'm not a huge TSM fan. I want North America to succeed, but I'm not, the biggest TSM fan. I'm not going to go to the desk for the guy. I'm not going to, bleed black and white. But there are fans like that who work, 12-hour shifts at supermarkets and pet stores and who are, in school. But they're waking up in the middle of the night to watch their favorite players play, their favorite organization, TSM, play. And this is what they got. This is what they got for waking up in the middle of the night, watching these players that they supported all year long. And what did they get, Arda? They got nothing but loss after loss after loss after loss after loss, embarrassment after embarrassment, as everything they love and everything they cherish falls around them. And they can't even talk about their favorite team anymore because they're going to get laughed at because they're TSM fans, and it sucks. And I hate it. And this is a terrible, terrible day to be a TSM fan.
We're going to talk about NA as a whole in a second, because now 2 of the 3 teams have been eliminated. I do want to mention one thing really quickly, Tyler. We showed a Doublelift tweet there, and we can feel free to show it again, where he basically memed the situation, and he said, we broke the 3-3 curse, but in the wrong direction. Now, I have a lot of respect for Doublelift as a player. I have a lot of respect for his domestic accomplishments, and I understand, and I can certainly understand how difficult it is for him in his situation and his lack of success at Worlds, and being the competitive player that he is, going to Worlds time and time again and having similar results. I think that tweet is misguided. I think that he may come to regret that. I think that, and I want to say, I am not criticizing the human being. I'm criticizing the action. I think it's very important that we all remember that. We should not be attacking the players of TSM as human beings. At the end of the day, they're competitors that went to Worlds. Clearly, they wanted to win. It didn't go their way. In fact, it went the complete opposite. That's completely understandable. Meme the performance, meme the team, flame the behavior, but not the human beings. So I am simply mentioning that tweet, that behavior in particular. I think that he might come to regret that. And what I mean by that is that basically feeds into the idea that TSM is a joke. Some people might believe that. Some people might have this impression now that TSM is a team that will never do well on the international stage. Look at previous year's results. Look at this team. They're old. They're washed. Whatever you want to say about the team. That, from one of the star players and the most decorated domestic LCS player of all time, for him to put something out like that simply feeds the beast. And unfortunately, people will take those tweets and run with it, especially if they are not TSM fans. And so I believe that that was a little misguided.
Yeah, I agree with you to an extent. I will say, again, love all the TSM guys. I've never had a bad experience with any of them. Doublelift is one of the nicest players I've met in the LCS. Always a great interview. Always a great guy. Friendly dude.
Agreed.
I know, he has that trash-talking persona, but there's few nicer guys in League of Legends than Doublelift. And he has to be frustrated. Him and Bjergsen both. This is pie on the face. This is probably the most embarrassing time of their careers, easily, right? Where Doublelift last year lost 3-3, went to a tiebreaker and lost to IG. Embarrassing, maybe, but they lost to the former world champions after going 3-3. They beat Damwon. They had some respect to them. They tried. They put up a good effort. Bjergsen in the past, similar things where, sure, they didn't make it out of groups, but they were lively. The one game goes a different way. They make it to the quarterfinals, and who knows what happens to the bracket stage. This year, they got outclassed. They were not good. 1-5, not good players. They were individually outclassed. You look at the stats, you look at what they brought to the table. Sure, Broken Blade, I think, out of all the players, had the best individual moments. But when it came to the team fighting, when it came to playing around his team, he was off-center, as most of the TSM players were. There were so many times where he would jump in on Camille and try to 1v5 when he would just get instantly popped. And it was it just kind of added on to the ongoing issues of what they had. Bjergsen, who in the first game, me and you, we both agreed, he looked locked in. Him on Syndra versus Nemesis on Lucian, he was up 25-30 CS. He looked like he was ready to have the tournament of his career. And from there, that point on, everything went down south. He had a terrible tournament, really bad teleports. Had an awful teleport today on Galio in the bottom lane, and he just looked out of sync all tournament long. He tried to make the Zillion work. The Zillion, which worked in NA, against, weaker laners, did not work against, GA and Nemesis, and especially BDD, who just slapped him when they try to say, okay, you want to pick this late scaling mage with, very mana intensive kit? We're not going to let you get out of laning phase, and we're just going to slap you around. And that's just what they did. Doublelift, again, he had, in terms of KDA, I believe he's the third worst player at the entire World Championship. I believe he had 11 kills and 20 deaths overall. Even in a non-bot-centric meta, he had my producer is telling me 1.3 KDA. As an AD carry, even in a non-AD carry meta, that is awful. And it's not something no team is ever going to win with a 1.3 KDA AD carry. He died in lane a few times. Biofrost, as we've mentioned, in a meta where a proactive roaming support is needed, he was nowhere to be found. Where was Treats? Treats was in the vicinity, right? Like, why didn't they try out Treats for a few games, especially when they were already eliminated? Biofrost had a terrible tournament. He had a few good thresh hooks when he was actually put on his most comfortable champion, but outside of that, he was either MIA or he was getting picked out in the jungle, trying to be a roamer, trying to clear vision, trying to pick up vision, and he was kind of an anchor for the team. And Spica, who might have been actually the best performing member, he had a really good Lilia game. When he was enabled correctly, he looked like he could actually do some things, and he's one of the youngest players at the entire World Championship. So I give him way more leeway than everyone else on this team. My producer's telling me that Spica had a 2.3 KDA. Obviously, the Nidalee didn't work out, especially in the first few games, and then they tried to force it again versus Fnatic. He looked better when he was stopped trying to force the Nidalee. But overall, like, even he they had so many bad moments where Spica having to smite the Baron because he was about to die to Baron, and then everyone just leaving him to die there while Gen.G steals the Baron and just kind of wins the game from there. Just so many bad moments. Not one silver lining. Usually at this tournament, at these kind of junctures where we've been 0-6, look at last year's 0-6, Arda, Clutch Gaming. They went 0-6, but I could not be more proud of that Clutch Gaming team because they fought their butts off every single game. They were proactive. This is far, far worse. Far worse. Do not put Clutch Gaming and TSM in the same mouth, Arda. Not even the same sentence. Those two teams should not be compared at all. I am so proud of that Clutch Gaming team. They were outgunned and outmuscled, but they never were outworked. And even games where they were obviously outmatched by far better teams, they didn't go down without a fight. And they almost beat Fnatic in 2 games and put on a classic game versus Fnatic, which was one of the most exciting games at Worlds last year. TSM, nothing compared to that Clutch Gaming team. They were reactionary almost the entire tournament. They were proactive for maybe 15 minutes of the hour and a half game time they had. It's just a frustrating tournament, especially when you look at Team Liquid, who had the same issues but turned them around in week 2. And Brock just said it, right? In the interview, he said, we knew our backs were against the wall. We had nothing to lose. Let's go out there and fight them. If we're going to die, we're going to go out there and fight them. TSM had the backs against the wall, and they had to fight to live, and they just they didn't fight. They just rolled over and died. And that's the saddest thing. They didn't put up a fight. And when they tried to put up a fight when they were actually dead, they just kind of bungled that too. So, no, I can't. There's no silver linings here, Arda. I would love to use a silver lining. I would love to say, Speak is the future, or Broken Blade was really good in lane sometimes. But when you go 0-6 as a number 1 seed and you have so many disappointing losses, it's not on one player. I'm not going to blame this on Bio. I'm not going to blame this on Bjergsen. I'm not going to blame it on Doublelift. This is a 1 to 5 coaching, infrastructure, entire organization fault here. This is not the fault of a player. It's a fault of an organization. And this is TSM's L. TSM has to hold this L, and they have to look at what happened this year and try to make something better coming in 2021. Because I don't believe that this I don't think we've seen the peak of this roster, but I don't think the peak of this roster is anything that could go far at World Championship.
Speak is young. He's a rookie.
He's young, yeah.
You surely give him another chance. He was he was a bright spot in the LCS. Yeah. It was his first time on the world stage. You could excuse that in terms of jitters, and also the meta was heavily focused on his position.
Yes.
So he had a lot of spotlight on him for somebody who's green to that stage.
And they pick losing lanes, and that's not great as a jungler, especially when they put you on Nidalee. When you have losing lanes on Nidalee, things aren't fun. So yes, I think Spica is a silver lining to an extent, but even so, he even had some major mistakes. And I don't want to, give him a moral victory here, where I do think you invest in Spica. I think you do have a future of Spica. But I don't think you look back at 2020 and say, oh, man, Spica showed a lot of promise there, and he did great. I think 0-6, this is a tournament that you want to forget. There's no happy moments here. This is one you put away forever and just say, I never want to be this low again in my career.
Speaking of low points, obviously Tyler mentioned the Spica team sleep, which ended up being a 9-man sleep. I actually got comment from the Gen.G side. I asked BDD about it. Thank you, Tyler, for that question. The interview is available on our YouTube channel /ESPN Esports. If you want to hear what Gen.G was thinking in that moment, it is rather funny, and he did laugh before he answered the question. So
I want to know that answer.
Out there. Yeah, so it is available on our YouTube channel. There are a couple of other interviews as well, including Mithy of Fnatic. They're all available on our YouTube channel. Now, as we look at North, actually, I will ask one more TSM question, but I do want to mention that North America now is at risk of not making out of the group stage for the second straight year and the third time overall, that being 2015 and 2019. Hold that thought, though, because I do want to tie a bow on the TSM discussion. I do want to ask what's next. You sort of alluded to it. There will certainly be questions about the bot lane. There really can't be any questions about Bjergsen because he's a part owner of the company. So unless he's going to retire and become an executive, I don't see him donning a Golden Guardians jersey next year or anything like that. So it sounds like Broken Blade and Spica will have the least questions around them. Maybe still some. Bot lane will certainly be in question.
Yes, bot lane.
But
it's bot lane.
Let me ask you, though. Because now you're talking about two established veterans, especially Doublelift, okay? And we're not going to get into any of the personal life here, okay? We're going to put that aside. Look at it strictly professionally with Doublelift, okay? He has earned his position to be able to call his shots. Any team will at least give him a solid conversation because he's who he is. And he has a lot of domestic success. And TSM won the summer split, right? So what does TSM do in this situation? How do you handle that bot lane? You look at Biofrost and you look at Doublelift and you have some hard conversations to have here. But what do you do?
I mean, for one thing is that they're going to Doublelift's biggest rival, the Spring Split. So I don't think it's like, oh, hey guys, let's run this back with Doublelift in the Spring Split.
Does he just take it off? Maybe Doublelift takes it off and just stays in Shanghai and it just does the Super Server for the entire split.
Yeah, just stay in Shanghai for
pull a CLG and just stay in Asia for
just stay in Asia. But I do think there's some options. I do think the bottom lane if they're going to change anything in their lineup, I would say that bot lane is almost assuredly going to be changed. After an 0-6 record like this, something has to happen. I mean, it's in traditional sports all the time. If you flame out of a spot this drastically, look at the Clippers. They had one of the biggest, choke jobs in NBA history. Who got the axe? The coach did, Doc Rivers. So we might see coaching changes. We might see infrastructure changes. But I do think the bot lane will see some tinkering. I think with the Australian rule or the Oceania is now North American rule, where now all Oceania residents are now North American residents. They have a youngster named Lost who, he's played in the LCS before. You can now promote the Lost Treats bomb lane if you want to and build around those guys if you think that is something that intrigues you. And there's also a lot of other, young 80 carries that you might want to fancy if you're a TSM. It's an interesting situation. And obviously, Doublelift is Doublelift, and Doublelift is a free agent. He's a free agent. This was supposed to be his swan song year on Team Liquid. Obviously, he left a bit early, went to TSM, and now there's a lot of questions ahead. He did tweet. He did mention that the double elimination bracket in the LCS playoffs did save his career and that was a very, weird message, right? Where it's like, were you going to retire if this was single elimination? You didn't make Worlds. So after this performance, I wonder where Doublelift's head's at, right? Where
absolutely,
if Doublelift wants to go be, a streamer tomorrow, he's going to be one of the biggest streamers on Twitch. He'll average 10 to 20, maybe 30K, viewers. Maybe he can become a XQC where he diverges from League of Legends, becomes a variety streamer after a while. He's a great personality. He's a great trash
He's
talker.
already a millionaire. He can make even more millions streaming, right?
Definitely. Is the fire still there? And the fire's still there, right? And this is a crossroads. And, Doublelift has many crossroads in his career, but this is probably one of the toughest ones where...
That's a good point, man. That's a really good point.
He just went 0-6. He just had the worst performance of his entire career. He got destroyed in bottom lane almost every single game. He died in lane recklessly. Did not have any, marquee games, no standout moments. He went 0-6 as the number 1 seed at World, and this could either inspire him to work his butt off and come back even stronger. I hate that. I hate that so much. Everyone tweets that when they suck, but come back stronger in 2021 and put in the work. Screw spring split. I'll work in spring split. I'm going to have the greatest year of my career. I'm going to dominate the LCS from spring to summer and go back to China. And I'm going to have my redemption story for the ages. Or you have 0-6 and you look at yourself and say, I'm nearing my 30s. I've had an amazing career. I've been here for a decade. I've won 8 domestic titles, won MVPs. I beat IG, the reigning world champions in MSI. I made an international final. I've done it all pretty much except win the big, international championship. And you might say, maybe it's time for me to, yonder off into my, streaming retirement home and go become a millionaire that way. So it's a crossroads for Doublelift. And if it's not TSM, I'm sure he'll find a starting spot. If TSM wants to go a different direction, he'll have no problem getting a starting spot in the LCS if he wants one. So it's a big crossroad. It's a really big offseason for Doublelift. I'm curious what happens because both roads seem quite possible. I would not be surprised if Doublelift tomorrow said, "I'm just gonna become a streamer full time, guys." Mm-hmm. It was fun. I could also see him just tweeting tomorrow, making a video being like, "That was the worst loss of my career. I'm angry. I'm upset. I am going to work every single day to make that this never happens again. I'm going to come back to China next year, and I'm going to make it different." So,
see, that's a good point because if there was ever a time, if that's the route he takes, what you just described there, then spring split will matter to him.
Yeah.
Because he'll want to make a statement for himself, right? Like he's going to say, no, I'm going to take this entire year by the throat. I'm sick and tired of being a joke. This happened to me last year. I don't want to fizzle out of groups again. This is ridiculous. And then he's just going to run roughshod over the LCS like he has done many, many times. So, and by the way, believe me, we are trying to get interviews with Doublelift and Bjergsen as well, to be honest, just to talk to them and ask these questions because at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. We want to ask them these questions. Oh no, certainly. I'm speaking on our behalf. We are endeavoring to do this, so believe us, we're trying to.
It's tough.
It's tough. It is very tough.
Especially when they go 0-6.
To no fault.
Yeah.
We are trying. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the Doublelift side of things. Let's look at the other players. I think Biofrost is a good question now because I think that one is less of a. Because we already saw some change there. Biofrost came in and out, and of course, him and Doublelift are good friends. They have a lot of history together. But now, I'm not saying that Biofrost's fate is tied to Doublelift. But I am curious what happens with him. I think the conversation is a little bit more extensive, or the possibilities are more extensive with Biofrost, especially with other teams, simply because he may not have the same cachet as Doublelift does. So what do you think about Biofrost?
I like Biofrost as a player, and I felt like this could be a tournament where he did extremely well. I mean, he's famous for having great playmaking, standout moments. And in a tournament where we've seen Hillsong and Mickey X and Beryl and Lumao and all these great, Sword Art having all these god tier engages on Bard and Alistair and Leona, he had nothing. I can't remember. He had a few hooks. That's about it on Thresh, but aside from that, I don't remember any great Biofrost moments from the tournament. He had a tournament void of any really highlights, and that's quite sad. And again, it's very similar to Doublelift, where he's also had a very long career, and I do think that he has. I don't think he has the same exit route as Doublelift, where I think Biofrost still wants to play, and I think he still has a lot more to go, where Doublelift, if he wants to retire at any time, could do so. But I don't know if TSM's the place for Bio. I don't know if the Bjergsen Bio Doublelift core should stay together. I think the 2016-2017 version, as we now know, was the peak of that core. That core is kind of not really fit in the 2020 world. We thought that bringing the band back together, it's like it's like those high schoolers, right? Where it's like you think about your high school days and how cool it was and how great your old friends were, and you go back and you go back to your old town after working a job for the last 10 years. You go back to your 10-year reunion and like, oh, it's my buddies from high school, and you realize they're all scumbags and they all sucked, and your high school days actually were terrible. And why did you come back here? And I think I don't want to say it's as bad as it is with TSM, but it's like sometimes bringing the band, you want to leave the memories alone. You want to leave the memories back in 2016, 2017, and maybe these three players, even though they're close friends, they work well together in a personal wise, maybe in a competitive international level, maybe it's better off they go their separate ways.
Broken Blade and Spica. Spica, in my personal opinion, I think they're both most likely to stay on this roster as an active member of this roster. Well, Bjergsen we'll get to in a second. Hold on. Hold on. Bjergsen we'll get to in a second, because I do think the possibility exists that he hangs it up. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not making any I haven't spoken with him. I would love to ask him that question though. I honestly would love to ask Bjergsen the question: is this it? Are you thinking of retirement? And I'm not putting words in his mouth, but after what happened here and after what he tweeted saying that this is completely embarrassing, and just his mindset, and having spoken with him throughout the split and how motivated he seemed, and to see this happen and how much he's competed and what position he has with TSM, he's set for life. Okay? Yep. He is set for life. We know this. He is also somebody that can stream, just like you said with Doublelift. I guess we're going to talk about Bjergsen now, but he's somebody that can do whatever he wants in League of Legends, any content, he will be totally fine. I would love to, first of all, I'd love to ask him in a week, let him digest what happened here. And I would love to ask him in a live interview, I'd love to ask him, where is your competitive drive right now? And I'd love to hear what he has to say, and then spin off a bunch of questions based off of his answer. Because I wonder, you have to wonder. The question has to exist. It's not just me, it's everyone. You have to ask this question. If you are a curious person by nature, of course the question will come up, Tyler. Of course you're going to wonder. Doublelift and Bjergsen, both. What do you do after that? How do you process this? Do you even have the motivation to go on after something like this? Bjergsen is the one that can't go to another team unless he gives up his ownership, right? Like, that is a much more complicated process. He is tied to TSM for life. So what do you do? Do you go to management and you say, we got to clean house? That's it. Like the buck stops with Bjergsen in that regard, right? Because he inherently will have that position of power to be able to go to even Andy or whoever and say, we need to clean house. We have to start from scratch. Give me a bunch of rookies. Give me a bunch of people with high potential. Give me a bot lane that's young, for example. And I want to cultivate that, and I want to build that, and I want to see where that goes. And maybe that's my last hurrah. But to not ask that question is foolish, in my opinion.
I've never really thought of that. I think that's actually a really good question, where I think the Doublelift retirement questions have always been there, because he did retire at one point. He did go on that sabbatical a few years ago where he did go become a streamer for a bit and then come back, the same split, saying he couldn't sleep at night because he only could think about competing and going to Worlds, and the streaming life wasn't for him. And Doublelift has always felt from that point on, always on the teetering edge of, could he go to being a streamer? Could he go to being a pro player? He was always on the edge since that moment where we did see him, kind of open that retirement door. And for Bjergsen, it's always been the thing of, I've never really thought of him retiring, right? Where it's always felt like he is that, top LCS player, consistent, always working hard, one of the most well-respected players in League of Legends, in my opinion, not only in North America, but you see it when you talk to people like BDD and Reckless and European players, and they all have respect and reverence for Bjergsen. Even when his team sucks and even when he doesn't do well, the people still vastly respect him as a player and as a human being. And I've never really thought of it. And it actually is, you're right. He's been playing since 2013 as, a teenager, an anxiety-ridden teenager on the Copenhagen Wolves. And Then he gets jettisoned over to Los Angeles and becomes the face of one of the biggest organizations in the world in TSM. And he kind of, his life just flips on its head. And, 7 years later, he's now a multi-millionaire, part owner. He lives in Los Angeles. His Danish accent's almost entirely gone. Like he's kind of grown into this. He's a man now. When he came to Los Angeles, he's a boy. Now he's a man with a part ownership, and he has so many different options. He has over 1 million Twitter followers. He's one of the most famous players in League of Legends. He could, similar to Doublelift, as we said, he could go become a streamer tomorrow and make even more bank, or he go into the executive business and become a high director at TSM and make even more money. Or he could do whatever he wants in esports, and people will find him a job because he's Bjergsen, and he's one of the most likable, smartest, down-to-earth people you'll ever talk to, and he's a really good person. And I think that's why he is so revered and loved by his peers. And I would hate if this was the last time we saw Bjergsen play, because he did not play well. And as someone who really respects him as a player and as a person, this is not how he needs to. This can't be how he goes out. The Zillion game, him going out on a poor Zillion game, him going out trading in Nexus for a Baron, it's not the way you want to go. And Doublelift, right, where Doublelift did have international glory. He did make the MSI finals. That was big. He beat IG. I was there in Taiwan when he beat IG. That was the equal. You could compare it to either C9 beating Afrika or TL beating IG, the greatest moment in North American League of Legends history. The fans barraging, like converging onto the stage after they beat IG, and him doing the post-match interview, and the Taiwanese fans serenading him. He had that moment in the sun. Obviously, the finals, not the greatest story of all time. Wasn't Disney-esque. Kind of got smashed in half an hour. But he still had the moment in the sun. He still had that big international moment where Bjergsen, what marquee moment does he have at Worlds? What marquee moment does he have at MSI? It's not there. It's bare. There's no real prime moment you really think of when you think of Bjergsen at an international right event. He won the IEM World Championship in 2015, but no one cares about that. They only care about MSI and Worlds, and I just can't see it, man. I don't want that to happen. And I agree with you that it's there. The possibility is there. Maybe the fire's been a bit, snuffed with this, and he looks at his money and he looks at his career options and says, maybe it is time to hang up the old keyboard and mouse. But, man, I don't want it to happen, man.
At the very least, the question should be asked. If I interview Bjergsen,
you should definitely do that.
100% that question's being asked, and it's a very fair question to ask. I'm not saying he's going to do it. I'm saying the question should be asked because it would be on a lot of people's minds. Last thought on this before we move on. Let's quickly touch up on Broken Blade and Spica. So Spica, rookie year. I know that you mentioned already, Tyler, that we shouldn't be putting a hopeful tone on what TSM
moral victory.
No moral victories. Totally understand. Victories. But of all the 5 players, he's the one that would get another chance, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't. He's one of the youngest players in the league. He showed a great resiliency. He could have easily wilted, especially after having such embarrassing performance in the first 4 games. He fought back on Nulia. That shows a lot of heart. And even when they lost that Baron and in an embarrassing fashion, he still came back. And they got that 5-man sleep. And I think that shows a lot about him. That he could have easily just kind of quit on the game, kind of trolled, kind of just waited to die. But he had that big failure, and he had the heart to come back. So for TSM and Spica, you definitely give him another year. He has the potential to be a game-changing jungler. But it all comes down to the coaching and the scouting, the coaching and the kind of the blossoming of him, because he is a young player, and we could either see him become a MVP like player like Blabber, where I do think Blabber, even though he had C9 had its explosion, I still think Blabber is one of the best players in North America. I think Spica has the potential to be up there like him, or it could be a situation like Mike Young, right, where Mike Young was a flash in the pan, had an amazing, Rift Rivals tournament, had an amazing, few tournaments, but the blossoming and the working on him and the teaching didn't work out. And that kind of happened on TSM when Mike Young was on TSM after coming from from Phoenix One. So I'm curious of the development of Spica, and I do think he's earned another year, and I want to see Spica if a year from now, because he could be an entirely different player. And if he continues on his trajectory, I think he becomes a really, really good player and one of the best players in North America. But the development has to be there behind him and the support.
Let's move on to what many of you are here to see. I can't even do it with a straight face. I can't wait to hear. I don't even know. I actually don't know. And I can't wait to hear where you're at with this. This is what we like to call Tyler's NA optimism. So, TL is out. TSM is out. FlyQuest is living on a prayer. We find out tomorrow. Where, you're already in the negatives, by the way, to catch everyone up. He's currently, or as of this moment, he was at a -4. He started at a 10, by the way, all the way down 14 spots below the axis to a -4. So, with the events that happened today, TSM going 0-6, setting records in the wrong direction, Tyler, where is your NA optimism right now?
Just put it up there. Producers, put it up there. I'm off the board. I'm in the Shadow Realm.
We don't even know what that is.
I've entered the Shadow Realm. I've entered the despair pit. I've entered the Shadow Realm. I've entered the nothingness of just nihilism, just waiting for my existence to be wiped off this earth, Arda, because I have gone below the below. I've gone below negative. I'm off the charts. I am off the charts, Arda.
Your optimism is off the charts. If they're not watching this visually, they might think that it's a positive thing, but no.
No, it's gone. FlyQuest still has a chance. If they beat the Erks tomorrow in that first game, everything changes. But my heart's been broken too many times. Team Liquid got so close, and then G2 lost, and they didn't get the tiebreaker. TSM went 0-6, and with a lot of heartbreaking losses. I can't love again, Arda. My heart's been broken twice. I can't give it to FlyQuest. I'm sorry, FlyQuest. I know you're out there. I know your rosy little cheeks, and you want me to believe in you and think, Ignar and Power of Evil and Solo and Wild Turtle can turn it around for all USA and Canada, and you guys could be the underdog heroes, and you can save the world of Sequest and Tree Quest and World Quest, and we're gonna bring back North America, and we're gonna be like an old little Disney movie, and we're the little engine that could. And you want to know the truth, FlyQuest? More than likely, that little engine is going to come bust, and it's gonna catch flames, and it's gonna burn down, and it's gonna be very sad, and everyone's gonna cry because it's not gonna be happy. And Mr. Chovy is gonna run over you with his tank and just run over you over and over again. And then Death was gonna come in and kick you when you're down. And that's how it's gonna happen. And that's why I'm in the Shadow Realm, Arda. I don't believe anymore. I'm already on to my next chart. I'm already thinking of what teams I can jump on the bandwagon of and create my quarterfinals chart, because I don't. North America has broken my trust, and TSM, my trust was broken when TL did not get out. TSM's performance today just kind of they kicked it, they stomped it, and then they just threw it in the dumpster fire. That was their performance.
Basically, Mordekaiser ulted you off your own chart is basically what happened here.
I'm in a realm of uncertainty, and most likely, maybe I'll survive. Maybe I'll get lucky, and FlyQuest will pull off a miracle. But most likely, I'm going to the gray screen, and I'm going to cry. Just tell it as it is, Arda.
FlyQuest.
Just tell it as it is.
Okay? No pressure at all, okay? By the way, Wild Turtle and I grew up in the same neighborhood. That has nothing to do with anything. I just thought I'd add a little positivity here. So you are off the charts. We have one more of these to do, by the way, okay? There's still one more. And by the way, as you can see on your screen, it's not looking great for NA. They're at risk of not making it out of group stage for the second straight year, 2015, 2019, the other times that they didn't make it out of groups. And the only other major region not to make it out of World's group stage was Europe in 2014. So there you go. Here is a more positive piece of news, a very interesting one as well. You may have heard already, but we will bring it to you now. There will be fans at the grand final of the 2020 League of Legends World Championship. Very surprising for some. This will happen at Pudong Stadium. This is going to be the first sporting event to happen at the newly created Pudong Stadium in Shanghai. The capacity is over 33,000, but as reported by a couple of people online, including Ashley Kang, we very much respect her, obviously, 6,312 is the number that is apparently being reported for the number of fans, a maximum of, that will be able to attend for free via a raffle draw. So there's going to be, and actually we reached out to Riot. I was able to get a response. The number is not confirmed yet, but they did tell me that there is a strict level of safety and health protocols that will be put in place with guidance from various global and local health agencies. Among other things, all audience members will have their body temperature checked multiple times, be required to wear a mask during the final, and be subject to additional safety protocols. So this is very encouraging and also very interesting that we're going to get a fan experience, Tyler, especially for us watching at home. But we're going to get fans. We're going to get cheering, and it's going to be surreal in a way because we're used to that in previous World Championships. But, I mean, it's been months since we've actually heard that at a professional League of Legends contest.
It's awesome. I'm happy. I'm ecstatic. I think Riot has shown they've already done such a great job with the bubble and the protocols there. And, Shanghai is not a hotspot currently compared to other parts of the world. So I do feel like the fans coming into it isn't some kind of it's not kind of some crazy ambitious plan that some other regions have tried to do with their traditional sports scene and allowing fans in. So I think it's safe enough, and I think it's going to bring an elevated factor to the World Championship final that it desperately needs. And obviously with the opening ceremony and KDA's new single being released there, and I'm sure they'll play Takeover. I'm super excited. World Finals are the greatest spectacles in all of esports. I've been to 4 of them. They're awesome. They're once in a lifetime opportunities. If you ever have a chance to go to one, I would implore you to go there, even if it's the worst final ever. And I've been to some stinker of some finals, some 0-3s. Fnatic versus IG was god awful, but the opening ceremony and the atmosphere and the joy and the feeling of being at a world final is unmatched in any other esport. So it's great, and I'm very excited to see what kind of final we have, and I'm just happy for the fans. And I think the craziest thing is, if this was an open market and it wasn't a raffle, these tickets I would think if an LPL team made the final, these tickets could go for $5,000 to $10,000, like USD, like easily, like $5,000 to $10,000 USD.
The other thing I was thinking of? Well, actually, that's a very good point. And if there's an aftermarket, I guess there must be some way that Riot is controlling this.
Oh, yeah,
right?
definitely.
There's no aftermarket. There's no bots, entering a raffle in some system. I'm sure Riot has that under control. What else I was thinking, though, was basically if only one LPL team makes it, so if it's an LCK or LEC team that makes the final, it's going to be a home game for the LPL. Because no other teams will be able to, no other fans will be able to travel. So presumably it's going to be LPL fans that will be attending the final, and they'll be cheering for whatever LPL team it is. So it's going to be a home game for them, in a way. Whereas before, with all the traveling people around the world, it may have been at least some sort of split. This could be 100% LPL fan-centric final.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who was there in 2018 for the IG Fnatic final, I can tell you that that final was pretty much all Chinese fans as well. So Chinese fans travel quite well in League of Legends Arda. So I do agree with you. It's going to be 100% Chinese fans if an LPL team is in the final. I do think playing in China, playing for a championship, because China's won now in Europe and South Korea, but they've never hoisted the Summer's Cup in China. I do think that LPL teams, if they make the final, and if it is against, a G2 or a Damwon, I do think there's added pressure that you are trying to lift the cup in the first time at home in China after such a terrible last year. I do think all these teams are going to want to be the one who can be the heroes to lift the Summer's Cup for the first time in Shanghai. So I'm very excited for the finals. This ups my excitement double fold. The fans bring so much to the World Championships as someone who's been to various ones around the world. And again, 2021, 2022, 2023, wherever the World Championship finals are held, I implore you, if you have the money and you have the luxury to actually go to one of these events, to one of the World Finals, please go. If you're a huge fan and you have the money to do so, and you can actually, don't waste the money if you're a poor college student. But if you have a job and you can save up and actually go to one of these finals, do it. Do it.
No. Waste that money.
No,
waste the money.
Arda, stop it.
Use your entire tuition and go to Worlds and buy a ticket front row. Spend everything. Go to Worlds.
This is why this is why NA is so trash at esports. This kind of decision making is why NA fails year after year at Worlds, Arda. You have $80 in your banking account. Why not just max out on your credit cards and go to China on a whim for a World
Go
Esports
into
final?
debt.
Yes.
Go into max out your credit cards. Take out a loan. Whatever you got to do. Go to Worlds.
Oh yeah, this is why NA will fail forever. This is the mindset of North American League of Legends right here, fellas. This is why we fail. Please go to esports responsibly. And but yes, World Finals are great. World Finals are great.
By the way, Shiria says a good point. I'm here for life advice. I give Zoom hour-long Zoom calls. Only costs $500 per hour. I'll gladly give you life advice.
No.
Tomorrow's headlines. This is where we predict what's going to happen tomorrow, and we put a fun spin on the headline. Tyler, what is your headline for tomorrow?
Bop to the Top. Not only a great High School Musical song, but my headline for tomorrow, when Top Esports of China becomes the first Chinese team ever at Worlds to go 6-0 in the group stage. I think DRX could give them a bit of trouble, but I do think TES, after having a bit of fun with their food in week 1, I think Damwon not going 6-0 kind of leaves the door open. I think they want to make a statement tomorrow. I think they want to go 6-0, clean house, get into the quarterfinals as the favorite, odds-on favorite alongside Damwon. I don't think they want, because I think after week 1, a lot of people said, "Oh, Damwon looks a lot better than TES." Maybe TS isn't that strong. I think this is their opportunity to show that, yes, Top Esports is one of the most skilled teams in the world, and they could also be one of the greatest League of Legends teams of all time. We've talked about Damwon and that possibility. I think TES has that same potential to be one of the greatest of all time. So, bop to the top. Top Esports is about to slap some heads tomorrow, and DRX, Unicorns of Love, and FlyQuest better be ready to play the death machine that is TES.
Mine is "Give Me a Break," and you can interpret that many ways. The first one is we finally get a break after groups. We will have a few days off until the quarterfinals begin, and that means that we on this show will also have a little bit of a break. But we will.
Thank God.
Keep it tuned to Twitter on ESPN_esports what our schedule is going to be for the remainder of Worlds. But also give me a break. Whether you're an NA fan and they fizzle out of Worlds, give me a break. Look at what NA did. Or if they happen to win, give me a break. How could you ever doubt them? So you can interpret this however you want. I'm interpreting it as, thank goodness we have a couple days off. That's probably the first one where I'm going to interpret it as.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, Tyler. Anything that comes to mind, anything we didn't speak about, anything you'd like to elaborate on for a minute or less? The floor is yours.
I just want to say that, I've talked a lot about TSM today and how embarrassing it was and how it was a shambolic performance, and I stand behind that 100%. I think how they played was terrible, and I think as a team, a professional team, they should be embarrassed about their play. But I also want to say, as Arda mentioned earlier, don't blame the players, don't attack them personally, don't take this as something bigger than it actually is. At the end of the day, it is people playing video games. It is supposed to be fun. It is something that it's not life or death in a global pandemic where people are dying and people are losing jobs and life isn't great for a lot of people. They're giving a lot of us joy, and they're giving people, when people are having bad days, the World Championships, even the worst of the World Championship days, they are entertaining us and they are giving us something to watch, even if it is a terrible, 9-man sleep that makes us pull out our hair. So, be critical of the performance, be critical of the team, be critical of the franchise, be critical of everything you saw on the field, but leave it at that. Do not attack these players personally, because let it be clear, they are attacking themselves and they are hating themselves far more than anything you could possibly say to them personally. And they are kicking themselves and beating themselves up, and they're going to be doing that for the next 6 months or even to a year until they can play at the World Championships again. So be critical of their performance, be upset at the franchise, be upset at TSM, but don't attack the players personally. They're already attacking themselves enough.
+1 on that. And amen.
And amen.
We shall see you very soon. I believe our next show is Thursday, Thomas. Is that correct?
Tomorrow.
We do have a show tomorrow.
Flag Quest, baby!
Oh,
One
right,
more
sorry.
chance!
After
One
that,
more chance!
I'm still thinking in tomorrow's headlines.
They're
My
still
bad.
alive! They're still alive, Arda! They're not dead
I
yet!
looked past them. Wow. All right,
Flag
we'll see you
Quest.
tomorrow. I got to get out of here.
They can still do it, Arda! They can still do it!